Hi, and welcome to another episode of A Little Privacy, Please. My name is Jason Kravitz, and with me, as always, is Jenny Holmes. And together, we lead Nixon Peabody's cybersecurity and privacy practice. And we're lucky to have Andrew Carr joining us from Booz Allen. Andrew is a senior director of business development at Booz Allen's commercial incident response team. He partners with law firms, cyber insurance carriers, private sector organizations, and he helps prevent and also investigate and remediate malicious activity across a range of industry verticals. Andrew has developed particular expertise in the area of AI and its impact on incident response, which I can promise you we are definitely going to get into on this segment. So Andrew, welcome to ALPP. We're delighted to have you.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So Andrew, as I mentioned in the intro, everyone these days is pretty obsessed with AI, and in particular, the relationship between AI and incident response is certainly a hot topic in our world. In what ways are you seeing AI being used to help defend organizations against cyber attacks? And how is it being used to aid in incident response generally?
Absolutely. So a lot of security vendors, tool sets are now integrating AI, machine learning to not only make the identification of incidents, anomalous behavior, those types of things easier, but also to make the response more efficient and quicker itself. So one of the big things that we encounter with a lot of security operations centers is kind of the escalation process, right? You have your tier one people, they'll review an alert, look at something, identify, okay, this appears anomalous or this appears malicious, and they'll pass it up to the next tier who will confirm or deny that it is in fact something bad. That takes time, right? So AI, machine learning are allowing those teams to work more efficiently, work quicker, and to use pattern recognition and predictive analytics to take that time down and respond more quickly. In many of these incidents, time is not on your side. So the faster you can address these issues, the more likely you are to have a smaller impact to your organization. So that's really helping to not only improve the telemetry that's being received by those analysts, but also it's improving their response, and one, how quickly they respond, but two, how well that tier one person can respond.
So Andrew, another issue that I've been seeing a lot is that threat actors are actually using AI to facilitate cyber attacks and make them much more efficient. Are you seeing that? Any examples you can share?
So the biggest one I will say that we have seen since kind of the jump of ChatGPT is the improvement in phishing emails. So before, you used to get a phishing email and you were like, yeah, that looks wrong, right? There would be spelling errors and grammatical errors, and just kind of the cadence of the email would be very choppy. Now with ChatGPT or any other of these generative AI applications, you can get a far more convincing email sent off. And that's just one piece of phishing, right? We can have deep fakes where an individual, either with a picture or a video, is faked, their voice, so they could call in to the IT help desk and their voice could be duplicated, especially someone like yourselves who has a lot of content out on the internet, right? A pretty realistic version of your voice could be created by an AI application. That person could call in pretending to be you, ask for a password reset, exposing the organization to risks it probably didn't experience a couple of years ago. So we're certainly seeing a combination of those typical phishing emails being, better crafted, more convincing, as well as, kind of those deep fakes and those more elaborate phishes. Additionally, just the reconnaissance aspect of it. Before, it would have taken, a threat actor quite a long time to perform their reconnaissance on the organization or executives or people they wanted to target. Now they just type in the person's name and it can spit out all that information of correlations between different individuals. And it really amplifies the ability of a single threat actor or a smaller threat actor group to take more definitive steps against that organization. Additionally, they can use it to ascertain what tool sets are in play by a particular organization by finding partnerships or references on different websites of, let's say, SentinelOne or CrowdStrike that they've partnered with this organization, right? So now they know what endpoint detection response is in play. So these AI applications act like, search engines on steroids, and they can provide them with a far richer experience in that reconnaissance phase.
So Andrew, again, it feels like AI models and AI engines are omnipresent these days, right? Every organization is trying to use them and trying to figure out how to harness their power. Are the AI models themselves at risk of a cyber attack? And then part two to that question is, how does MITRE Atlas factor into this? And maybe for the benefit of some in our audience who don't know, if you can just explain what MITRE Atlas is.
Yeah, so many people have probably heard of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, right? So that's essentially a list of criteria that defines the different ways that networks would be attacked, the different techniques in place, everything from initial reconnaissance of an environment through vulnerability scanning or IP references, all the way up through data exfiltration and the more advanced techniques, right? Well, MITRE Atlas is an extension of that, but specific to AI models. So there are different ways that AI models can be interacted with maliciously, whether that's purposefully or inadvertently, and they can cause effects to those models. Now, think of something like data poisoning, right? So this is where someone puts information out on the internet that an AI model will then read and interpret and learn upon. But that information has been specifically crafted to either create a loophole in the AI model, get it to respond to a certain command so that it elevates its privilege, or it gets it to essentially, we call it jailbreaking, right? It lets it go beyond its guardrails, or it creates a false association in the learning that gets it to predict something incorrectly or ignore something. So absolutely, those types of things are going on. But there's attacks beyond that. Prompt engineering in order to get the training data pulled back out of it, right? So it's the inverse. Instead of asking it for information based on its overall training, you're asking for the underlying data itself. Obviously, if this is intellectual property or personal information, sensitive information, you wouldn't want that coughed up to just anyone who can interact with the chatbot. But through specifically crafted inputs, that information can be pulled back out. And it can create not only a difficult situation for those individuals, but potentially a data breach as well. So it's something that, these are very useful tools, but there are numerous ways, to attack them themselves. And the way to deal with that is you have to be monitoring the tool. You can't simply just set up an AI model, set up how you're going to use it, and just let it go. Right. So it really can have vulnerabilities that need to be taken seriously. And the method to get past that is to actively and proactively monitor it for these types of malicious interactions and correct it should it be occurring.
Little Birdie told me that one of your investigative works was actually featured on a Netflix documentary. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
In the intro there, Jason, you mentioned I've been involved in a number of high-profile homicides. One was the Stacey Castor case that was early in my career. That was Dateline special, and it made it to a Lifetime movie. But more recently, back when I was still doing that type of criminal work, I did the forensics on the retrial of Caitlin Conley. So the first time around, there was a mistrial. They brought in the heavy hitters, myself and Tony Martino, who you had on a little while ago. And so redid the forensics there, found a plethora of additional information. And ultimately the ending of the trial was a little bit different than the first time around. That was on Hulu, Little Miss Innocent there. And there's actually a follow-up due to some of the new circumstances with her getting released. And that was probably my biggest claim to fame there, the Lifetime movie and then the Hulu special. In the end of one of the episodes there where they're talking about the deliberations for the second trial, you can see me stand up at the prosecutor's table. It's just the back of my head in my suit, but that's me. So keep an eye out.
So, Andrew, that was really interesting, quite frightening. I'm starting to think that maybe I should start speaking with an accent during these ALPPs so no one can steal my voice. But that's going to do it for this episode of A Little Privacy, Please. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.